Did you see like what that guy Michael Rubin did?
So we talked about him a little bit. To be honest, I don't entirely understand what his business Fanatics does, but I know that like he's got three different companies right now. One of them was worth like 50 billion, another one's worth like a billion, another one's worth like 5 or 10 billion. Like it's just like crazy. It's like there's Fanatics and there's like three spin-offs of it.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't have like a ton of kind of like research on him or whatever, but basically Fanatics itself is worth over $10 billion. And what Fanatics does is they basically are a merch company, but for sports. And so what they do is you want to go buy a Steph Curry jersey, whether you buy it in the NBA shop, the Warriors shop, or you just Google Steph Curry jersey and you land on fanatics.com. It's Fanatics that's printing, and they're actually like printing the jerseys and then shipping them out to customers.
I get that. I just don't understand how can just like a rookie, like a noob. I mean, he's not a noob anymore. He's been doing this since he was 21 and he's probably 55 now. How can just like a guy come in and just like muscle like the people who have had those contracts for 20 decades or 20 years?
I also had that same exact question. Now, I know he was kind of like successful before this. I think he had done it
was called GSI, I think, Commerce. And he sold it to eBay for, I forget exactly how much, but he made like 80 or 90, I think. And then it didn't work out at eBay. So he bought back some of the stuff and he grew that to be big. And then he also spun out a few things. So this company called ShopRunner, which is quite popular. It's basically like Amazon Prime for people who aren't on Amazon. He built that business and a few other things.
And so
he started as like a ski shop when he was 18, I think.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Sort of a ski business, whatever. Then it became like kind of apparel logistics. So that's GSI Commerce. That's sports commerce. He sold that to eBay. I don't know if you said the price, 2.4 billion.
Yeah, I think he only walked away with like 80, which is a lot, but I don't think I think he like gave up a ton of equity.
And he was like in his late 30s at the time. And then yeah, I don't know how he got the contracts, but he basically just like continued licensing. I don't think he got exclusive. So I think he got the licenses to print the stuff. And then over time demonstrated that like they had the best product with the best delivery, with the best quality assurance and all that stuff. And so they ended up being like, we'll just power your shop, right? We'll be the default one when you go to like the team's websites.
Well, he also recently started a cards company that is making cards, and then he was like, you know what? Let's just buy Topps while we're at it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So I don't understand how he's totally just kind of brute forced his way into this, it seems.
Yeah, so he exactly. So he bought Topps, which is kind of like a pretty interesting move. We've talked about trading cards. We talked about like this whole thing. What it seems like what they're going to do is they're going to say, all right, we got the licenses from the sports teams. We know licensing as a business. We can get the licenses for cards as well. We know printing and manufacturing. We can do that with the cards as well. But then also with cards, there's like, basically it's the same customer. It's the same fan. So if I buy a Steph Curry jersey, odds are I'm going to be like somewhat interested in like a Steph Curry rookie card. And the reason I want to bring him up is not because like I had some like deep insight on his like business plan, although I think it's pretty simple, which is like, we have the sports fan as a customer. What do they buy? One of the things that they might buy is collectibles. Okay, let me go buy Topps and like, let's sell them collectibles. But I thought his approach was smart and one that people should take, which is he goes, right now there's like 5 million people who collect sports cards. And so like the whole business is like these 5 million people. And nobody has like taken a like big approach to this. It's been this like hobbyist kind of underground. And that's like the charm of it. Like if you go to like the annual sports card conference, it's like this dump in Cincinnati that's like, these hobbyists bring their cardboard boxes and like some special shout out to like, Kentucky Fried Chicken for sponsoring this year's conference or whatever, right?
And like Eric's mom's for bringing cookies.
Yeah, exactly. Third year running. Thank you, Mrs. K. And so they're like, that's the conference right now. So he's like, dude, why is that like that? But like SneakerCon is like this fucking state of the art thing. And CES is like this epic show that's like, like cutting edge. So he's like, I'm going to do all that in the no, he's like, nobody has spent $1 on marketing collectibles. Like nobody, like it's like this hobbyist passion industry, but nobody goes out and markets this thing. He's like, but the people have done that for sneakers and other things. So I think what he's going to do, one smart thing, I like this part of the plan, was he's basically going to athletes that like to collect in general. And he's going to like make it known that these celebrities, oh, did you know, like the whatever, the guy from Billions, like the hedge fund manager has like $2 million
he's gonna build
stuff.
build like a media company on top of this a little bit, like a media company, or it's going to be a slick media play, and they happen to sell the cards.
He's going to make it cool to collect, right? Which is a smart thing. And the reason why, again, like, okay, that's just part of a plan. The one part I really liked is he goes, there's 5 million people who collect today. And what anybody else in the space is trying to do is try to take as much as they can from those 5 million. My question when we bought Topps was, how do we get 50 million or 500 million people to collect? And like, that's the only game I want to play, is expanding the total size of this market from 5 million people who do this thing to 50 million people who do this thing. And I just thought like that's a really powerful mental model for how you build businesses. And I've talked about this before. It's the same framework as the one that the guy from Slack did when he created Slack. He's like, yeah, there's work chat tools and some people use them. But he's like, the reality is 8 out of the 10 customers that we talk to, companies that we talk to, they don't use a live chat tool. They use email. So he goes, his memo was called, "We don't sell saddles here," right? Because he's like, if we just go to the existing people who like horseback riding, they probably already have a saddle. We try to convince them to switch because we got a better saddle. They're kind of familiar with their ways. We're always going to be in this like tiny niche. But if we sell the dream of horseback riding and show people how fun it is to go horseback riding, we increase the size of the overall market. And then when they say, oh, wow, I love this thing, but my butt hurts, we'll say, great, we have a saddle for you. And so that's like just like a general approach to business that I think more people should take, is increasing the size of the number of people who even want your category before saying, pick me. That I think more people should take is increasing the size of the number of people who even want your category before saying, pick me.
Have you, I agree. That's a really good insight. And an example of that is, have you seen, so Kevin Rose, this tech guy for years, Kevin Rose, for some reason, after, I forget where he was I think he was at Google leading like their venture arm. He left and he became I think he became a part owner and the CEO of this blog called Hodinkee. Yeah. I think that's Hodinkee. And I remember hearing about that. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, it's a blog for watches. And I was like,
well, there was a middle step. So he created a studio, a lab to incubate ideas. And that's why he was even more crazy. He's like, yeah, we're creating this like publication or this thing for watch collectors. And then that got acquired, I think, by either Hodinkee, or that was called Hodinkee and it got acquired. I'm not sure which one.
Yeah, this guy already had this blog. Kevin was tinkering with it and they became one. And he started working on that. And I was like, what the heck, man? You're like,
who gives a shit about watches? Yeah, aren't you like high tech?
And like a blog? Like, what are you thinking? And then I started watching some of their YouTube videos, and it was either Kevin or the other guy who started the site, and he was sitting with John Mayer, and they were talking about their watches. And I sat for like 20 minutes watching this, like where John Mayer was like, yeah, this watch is actually special for this reason. And I was like, that's amazing. And they had this show on YouTube where they were doing that. And I'm not a watch guy because I don't want to spend, I don't get joy out of, I get more stress out of spending $30,000 for something on my wrist. I kind of get annoyed with it. But I was watching his stuff and I was like, I want to own this. You've turned me into a connoisseur or a wannabe connoisseur. I want to be part of this.
Exactly. I want this. I don't know how yet.
Yes.
But it's like sushi and wine. There's been a whole bunch of these things where I'm like, oh, I kind of like the idea of getting into this hobby, golf, right? Like I want it.
Yes, and that's how I felt with him. And I could see myself wanting to do this with cards. When I was a kid, did you ever collect Magic cards?
Not Magic, Pokemon for me, but yeah.
I did Magic, and I don't even remember how to play it. And I remember I was like, just let me look on eBay, see how much some of those are. And I was like, I'm just gonna buy some. This is fun. It'll remind me of my childhood. And I would totally do that with sports cards, even though I don't pay attention to sports now. Just remind me of my childhood. I would buy like a Mark McGwire card or something like that. But yeah, this is cool. I think that's a really good framework, actually.